We're going to go live straight away. Live? We're live. We're live. It's a miracle. Cool. So thanks who's ever joined in with this, bearing with us. And yeah, we're going to train shoulders today, so get your questions in, whatever you want to answer, I'm happy to throughout this time. It's the first time we're doing this, so it's a bit of a trial to see how we're going, so hopefully in the future we can get a lot more of these happening. Instead of you guys needing a personal trainer or a coach, I mean, there's still good things to have, but getting it straight from someone who's been to the mountaintop in 2 different federations, hopefully I can give you guys a lot of information that will help save you a lot of money and give you the right procedure and the right way to do things. My training method has been something I've stuck with for a very long time. I've tried different things out in the interim with FST7 and Max OT in a couple of different forms. High rep training, superset training, giant set training, drop sets. There's so many different methods out there that can help you get your results, but what I've found is the best way possible. It's like, I explain it like if you're driving home from work every day, you want to find the fastest route home, and you don't want to be messing around driving a longer time. And it's the same thing with your body. I mean, time is money, time is energy, so you want to be able to have the safest way and the best way possible for you to get to where you want to go with the least amount of injuries and the best method, something that's measurable, having quantifiable results at the end of it. And I do that with a system that I've developed over my many years of training. And it's a system where I stick to the same weights for 2 weeks at a time, and then I lower those reps by 2, stick to that for 2 weeks at a time, drop those reps by 2. Some of you may know about this training system. It's basically called just 2-week rep variations, or the king of the gym system, other people have called it. But I've used it, and the people that I give it to always respond. It's not like it's something that people won't respond to, because it's dependent on the exercises that you use. So it will always target the exercises that will be for your weak points to make them symmetrical with your strong points. That's how you develop proportion and balance in bodybuilding. You don't want to develop something that you've already got and keep maximizing that, which then wrecks your posture as well. So you become more and more unsymmetrical and more imbalanced when you have that kind of a system. And that's how I've explained it to people over the years. And having just a trainer or a coach that doesn't understand how that works, they'll do a combination of exercises for you that will just ramp things up and get your heart rate up, or get you sweating, or giving you a workout, but not exactly developing muscle. And I'm sure that everyone out there wants to improve their body, not just have a workout in the gym. They want to change their body for the better, whatever that may be, is up to you. So for me, it's always been shaping the body and developing the body, making it proportionate and symmetrical. So that's my system. How are we all going with everything live-wise? Is there any glitches, or everything's cool? Got a good team here, Hook Media. It's a trial thing this time, so really apologise if it's been a delay and stuff like that. So yeah, any questions, guys? Answer it, fire them away. Any questions on anything? Yeah, you've got the mind of a top-level pro bodybuilder here that can just help you out, and I answer everything to the best of my ability. So if you have anything, write them in the comment section below, and I'll be happy to get back to you.
So we've got a question from Scott. How many weeks do you run that system you were talking about before you changed up the exercises?
Okay, so the question is, how many weeks do I run the system for? I do this for 8 weeks. So I'll start at 12 reps for 2 weeks, and I'll go down to 10 reps for 2 weeks, 8 reps for 2 weeks, and then 6 reps for 2 weeks. So that's a combination of total of 8 weeks. And in that process, you try and beat the previous week. You always try and beat the previous week, and that's progressive. So that's progressive overload. So if I get a 10 kilo dumbbell side raise for 12 reps in my first week, I'm gonna wanna try and get that same weight for 14 reps, or I'm gonna try and get 12.5 kilos for the same amount of reps. So that's progression. And then I drop the reps by 2, and I keep going up like that. So by every time that you drop the reps by 2, you'll be saving energy, you'll be having a lot more endurance happening, you're not gonna be burnt out as much. And how I develop my system is I keep the same exercises the whole way through for the 8 weeks. And I think that's extremely important. So people change up their exercises every week, which is nice if you're not wanting to progress massively. It keeps it interesting, keeps it exciting. But like I said before, it's like driving home. You want to get the quickest route possible. You don't want to waste your time. And bodybuilding's so hard. Go and spend that time with friends, with family, socializing. Once you've trained in the gym for many, many years, you realize that it's part of life, but it's not all of life. So get the best results the fastest way possible, and then move on from that. So that's it.
Love to see some big weight getting moved.
So overhead presses, actually I haven't been doing them lately with my system because my anterior deltoid here, as you see, it's my most dominant muscle group, and I'm competing in the Arnold in 4 weeks. So my training system I've done for the last, say 5 weeks up there, and the majority of people have no idea what you're talking about, and you're just baffling them with words to try and sound more and more intelligent, and different angles and different recruitment patterns and different muscles that are coming into that sequence. You don't need any of that. You don't need any of that. You don't want to be confused when you do this. You want the basic way possible, and if you can't explain something basically, you don't know enough about it. So that's what I'm trying to get forward to you guys is I'm going to explain things how it works, teach you the best way possible. I love PT, I've done that in the majority of my life. I've stopped that now, I only train a couple close friends, but I think I get so many questions every day, is to target it this way. Get the cameras on me, go through the exercises, have you asking me questions, and then me answering those questions and help you grow. Probably 8 reps today. What you want to do here, there's many ways of doing a side raise as well, but what you're wanting to do, I'll show you, which I believe brings in a lot of your front, is having the dumbbells slightly in front with a little bend, and as you're coming up, you're actually twisting your wrist out. So think about it like you're pouring a drink of water, you're pouring a glass of water out. So as your hand comes up, out to the side, it's twisting and pouring. And that's how you want to do your dumbbell side raises. So from here, yep. Elbow and shoulder, up into level. Any higher, you start coming into trapezius that way. And you just want to be targeting your medial deltoid. Cool. So the way this system works, did a seminar in Brisbane on the weekend, and that was a bit of confusion. It's hard to explain the system without going through it step by step. So how it works is you'll start with a light weight. I mean, for me, that's 10, that's light for me. It might be 5, it might be 3, it might be 2 kilos. And some massive improvements in the increments of the weight. That's not really important. The building sets are there to create a neurological connection with your body, and they're there to warm your body up as well. They're not there to overload. So that's really, really important to do. Make sure you drink a lot of water while you're working out. It's one thing that people lack to do. Hydration is really important. Water is a thermoregulator. Keeps you cooler when you're hot and hotter when you're cold. Your perception of work decreases. It helps transport all the nutrients. It's really, really important, water. All right. Second set. Just 12s, 12.5s. If there's any questions throughout, just ask away as well.
So it says, King of the
The body in that movement pattern. So if I'm warm doing this, and my shoulders are warm, and I'm sweating a little bit, and my heart rate's up, and then I go into a barbell press, and I think because I'm warm in this exercise, I'm then warm in everything. It's not the case. That's when injuries occur. So then people go into a barbell movement or a dumbbell movement, and they might do only 2 building sets and then an overload set with, say, a dumbbell press of 50 kilos or 60 kilos, but they've only done 2 increments of 20 and 40. That's a huge jump and a huge difference. You don't want to do that. You want to make sure that you're warming the body up. Take your time, have patience in the gym, stimulate your muscle, get that connection going, increase your proprioception, your neurological connection, the pathway, and then you're going to be safer, you're going to be more connected with the muscle. That's one main thing. And then the other thing is you're going to prevent injury that way. So the connection is very important. People say mind into muscle connection. Yeah, that's true to some degree. It means that you need to be recruiting the right muscle in the right sequence, in the right order. Because it's different if I'm doing this, and then in my building sets, and then my overload set, I'm doing this, throwing the weight up. Your last overload set has to be almost identical to your building sets. So your building sets, you should be getting your movement pattern right, you should be getting your range of motion right. And that's why I'm doing this form of side raise, because it gives me a greater range of motion. I'm coming down more, and I'm coming up more, and that way I'm recruiting more muscle tissue that way. Whereas if I'm starting from out here, there's less range of motion. Starting from here, there's even less range of motion. So from here, I'm able to get full range of motion. Full range of motion is full development. As long as other muscle groups aren't recruited, like my legs or my traps, wanting to make sure I'm targeting that area completely.
So on a similar note, someone's asked, do you advocate not pausing in the lifts and keeping constant?
Yeah, that's the thing, how it works. It's got to be constant moving tension and as consistent as you can to the building sets. The issue that I see is when people pause in the movement, and I know the theory behind all the isometric contractions and the purpose of that for developing muscle tissue. I've never done them. I've tried them once or twice. I don't do them at all. And I've made it to being a world champion in the INBA and to the Olympia stage in the IFBB. So what does that say? I'm not saying I'm a freak or anything like that. I'm saying you don't need to do them. Tony Doherty in the house. That's what happens at the Mecca. Doherty's the Australian Mecca. Live, mate.
I would have had a bigger shirt on if you knew you were getting around like that.
That's
Hi
it.
Josh, hello everyone.
Getting ready for the Arnold.
This is your live feed, yeah?
Yeah, this is like first day
Hello
live.
everyone. Fantastic, first day live. Look at the monster.
You'll see celebrities like this guy in the gym and following this live stuff.
Look, you know, it's good that I've come in just when I have, because I got a call, a FaceTime call from the big man himself this morning. I was doing my walk around Optus Oval near your place.
Oh yeah?
And Arnold called.
Wow, that's
And
cool.
he's so pumped up about coming back down here to Melbourne. He asked after you and all the athletes.
Cool.
How's everyone going? He said that Melbourne's one of his favourite cities in the world. He can't wait to get here, and I showed him the park, and he said, I can't wait to get there and go out and do my cycling, because he loves bicycling around Melbourne. But he's just so pumped for the event. He said he just wants to spread the word to get everyone to come to the Pro Show, to support the athletes, to support him, and to encourage everyone to be part of our fitness crusade.
Cool.
So it's a pretty cool way to start the day.
Awesome, mate.
Yeah.
Good perk. Got
Yeah, it
that
was
call
alright.
for the first time.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good way to start the day.
Yeah, it was all right. It was
Cool,
What are
man.
you doing? Like a million dumbbells?
Yeah, I know. It drops out when we go in there, so that's what we're going to have to fix next time with the Wi-Fi. So we want a strong signal, want to have quality for the people watching, and every time we went in there, it dropped out. So we've got like the dumbbell rack in here almost.
Right.
So,
If you can't bring...
I'll throw him in through a workout.
I already trained. I train first thing in the morning.
Ah, that old chestnut.
I train at
I'll
between
keep warm.
6:30 and 7 every morning, so I'd love to train and join in, but maybe next time he'll kill me.
That's all right. Let's keep warm.
I did side races this morning just like that, but I don't want to embarrass him or anything.
So for Tony, best advice opening a gym.
That's advice opening a gym. Do your research, know your brand, and make sure you're not a sheep. Don't follow what everyone else is doing. Know who you are and what you're going to do, and do your homework. Make sure it's the right area, it's the right time, and you've got enough capital to keep going, because it's really can be difficult. And if you don't have the strength, the mental strength to keep at it, then it's very, very easy to give up. So put yourself in a position where you can outlast everyone. Don't quit and work your ass off.
Very good.
I'm getting
Great
questions.
advice.
How about that? Let's
Great
drop in
advice.
to say good day.
It's perfect. You got it more often. You got to have a cameo every time from TD.
Yeah, we'll do a cameo every time. We'll keep training. Enjoy this life.
Thanks, mate.
And most of all, support Josh Lenartowicz. He's the best pro bodybuilder Australia's ever had.
Thanks,
I've seen
mate.
them all. I've been around the sport for 30 years. This guy's a real deal. Let's
Thank you.
follow him all the way to the top.
Thanks.
And give him support. But most of all, come along to the Arnold Classic. And when he walks out, when I announce, representing Australia, ladies and gentlemen, we want to raise the roof. We really want to get a serious standing ovation for Josh. And only you can do it. Get off your ass, buy a ticket, and come and support the great man. I'm out. See you all.
See you, mate. All right. All right. So I hope you're understanding a little bit more with this system now. So as you see, the sets have done 10s, 12s, 15s, 17s. So that's 4 sets. I'm going to do a couple more to reach my overload. So the sets don't really matter as much. As in these building sets, I'm not developing muscle in this section. I'm warming my joints up, I'm getting my heart rate up, I'm getting warm, and they're all good things. But the overload set is the main thing. And as you see, my form's really strict and I'm connected, and that's how your body is able to function properly. An important thing as well. So this is okay, having a chat and stuff. Then it's my first exercise, I'm building up. My rest breaks, it should always go from a shorter rest break in the beginning for the first set to the longest rest break before your last set. That's really, really important there. You want to fully recover, you want to make sure everything's completely recharged. You don't want to have your heart rate right up and you're sweating, you can't breathe properly, you can't catch your breath before your last set. I've done that before when I was doing squats when I was younger, supersetting squats and leg curls. I was going from one to another, and because my breathing was erratic, by the time I went into my squat, there's a direct relationship with your breathing, your intra-abdominal pressure, your interthoracic pressure, and if you're not keeping all the oxygen in your lungs and keeping up tight, nice and tight through your core, and you're breathing in and out through the movement on the way down and up, it's very easy to damage your lower back, and that's something that happened to me in the beginning, which is why I'm a big advocate on how to do this training system to prevent injury. And as some people have seen me out there, I'm able to lift maximum amount of weight. Hasn't come easy. It's just been a long time that I've been able to structure it, and longevity is a really huge thing in this sport if you want to do it right. I know everyone wants it yesterday, but you can't. Bodybuilding isn't about that. If you do this system, it'll get you on the right path and the right way to get results. Make sure you ask questions.
So we've got a question in the chat. Cheat reps on overload sets or?
Yeah, here's a great way to put that. You can go from strict to loose, but you can't go from loose to sloppy. So that should explain it, meaning that you can go from strict to loose, but you can't go from loose to sloppy, which means you're swinging them up and getting out, because you've just done this whole system of warming the muscle up in a certain range of motion, and then you're getting to that overload set. That was the most awkward U-turn I've seen. Scott Goebel, ladies and gentlemen. Getting that technique going, and you're in that movement pattern, you've got that sequence, and all of a sudden, you're doing like a first set of a different type of side raise, and your muscles aren't warm in that area. Your body's not strong in that range of motion yet. You haven't done all the building sets for it. So the risk of injury is great, and there's always a risk to benefit ratio. So the risk to that is really high, the benefit is not that high. So that's the main thing. All right. All right, that should be my last building set. Now I've got one overload set. Because I'm going for 8 in this system, if I can get more than 2 extra, so if I'm going for 8 and I get 11, that means the weight's too light for me for the overload. So I need to then get another increment up. If I'm doing 8 and I only get 5, that means it was too heavy. And that's the best way to judge it, is 2 reps either side. It's okay if I'm going for 8 and I'm getting 9 or 7 or 10 or 6. That's okay, as long as you know what you're doing and you can record your weights. It's very, very important. Like, this is what I'm saying, there's a very meticulous way of doing this, recording your results. Because this is my life, this is my profession. I know all the weights that I'm lifting currently in my head, so I know what I need to do to benefit that and beat that next time. Yeah, this is 25 for 8. And it's, here in Australia, we go in kilograms, not pounds. So.
A friend of ours in Queensland, Darren Burns.
Oh, Daz.
Just water or BCAAs?
No, just water for me. Here's the hard thing. So you've got your parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. So your sympathetic nervous system switches on when you're in a state of stress. So you shouldn't be smashing down. And this seems really bad because there's all these methods and scientific evidence behind how BCAAs or taking all those things, pre-workouts, before you train are really beneficial. But you got to think of all the rules that the body has. There's certain rules that you have to go by. And your sympathetic nervous system switches on, which means your digestive system switches off, and you're still trying to shovel these things down and get processed through your digestive system. What's going to happen is there's going to be less blood going to your working muscles, more to process it, and people say, yeah, but that's only a BCAA, it's not like a macronutrient, like it's not a protein, carbohydrate, or fat, but it's still something that your body has to digest and process. So before you go through all the scientific methods and data that's actually there to force people into buying a product, it's not actually proof that it's completely biased. These studies are done by these organizations, and this is real. I'm telling you the truth out there. I do believe BCAAs are great. I think you should have them away from your training, in between meals if you want. Protein powders and stuff like that are important. Supplements are important. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that. I'm saying in the workout, let's do everything the best of your ability so your body works. And this is a pro talking right here. I'm not knocking it. And I'm looking for supplement sponsorships. It's not going to knock them out. So, but it has to be aligned with what I believe. I'm not going to endorse something and take it while I'm working out if it's not something I believe in.
Someone has said no supplement sponsor. What's the go there?
I've got my expectations here of what I'd like out of a supplement company, and they've been here at the moment, so I'm not going to lower my bar to account for their expectations. So I believe you should get what you're worth, and If they don't come, that's fine, I'll just work. I'm happy working, there's nothing wrong with it. So I'm fine with that. But if they come, great, I'd love to align myself with a company. And one was really good, but I just didn't believe in their philosophy. I didn't like their products, so I'm not gonna endorse something I don't like. So, and I believe that speaks more volumes. And I could get a sponsorship and bounce from one to another. I'm not gonna do that either. When I pick up a brand, I want that to be long-term. I want it to be like Kai did with Muscle Meds, align with them and stay with them for as long as he can. Kai's got his own brand now, but Muscle Meds lost so much money losing him. And that's something that I'm wanting to just align myself with the company for a long time.
Someone wants to know if you speak any Polish.
Dzień dobry. That's all I know. I don't want to show off. All right, last one. Maybe. Cool, so you see the last two were like cheat reps for me. Strict to loose, not loose to sloppy. And that's hard. That's tearing my muscle tissue down. That's overload. That's side delts done. Out of my face. That's what you want to do. Build up, connect with the body, overload it. You might not need this many building sets, but for me it's my first exercise. And I always do more building sets when it's my first exercise. It's a rehab thing that you'll need to do. See, for me, I've had little niggles and stuff, and people have said it's a rotator cuff injury, but it wasn't. It's if you're building up like I'm doing, and you're connecting with your body, and you're doing things in the right way, in the right order, and your body's developing symmetrically, you shouldn't have any issues. But if you do have issues, then yeah, definitely see someone who knows a lot about that. And make sure you know what you're doing when you're doing the preventative rehab stuff, the mobility stuff. You see a lot of people doing things and they actually don't know. They're not doing them the right way. So that's and that's what I don't like as well. Don't get me wrong. I know a lot about the body, but I'm not like a physiotherapist. I'm not a myotherapist. I'm not a top level remedial masseur. I'm not going to preach something I don't know enough about. And that's what trainers do. They're too scared to say, or coaches, they're too scared to say, I don't know. And Einstein said, I know less than 5% of all there is to know in this world, and he was a genius. So you don't know more than Einstein. But people want to come across that they know everything, and I don't know everything. I'm happy to say it. But I know a lot about this, I know a lot about bodybuilding, I know a lot about building muscle, and that's all I'm trying to present here. But make sure you get treated, make sure you do some warm-ups before you exercise, do some mobility stuff to increase your range of motion. But don't go further than your normal range of motion. Don't do static stretching before your workout. And I'm only ever been doing that, and all of a sudden I'm doing extra range of motion with that. Those muscle fibers haven't developed to handle that weight, and that's another way the body can get injured. So it's longevity in this sport, longevity, prevent injury.
Someone wants to know what your favourite buildings is training.
I love Brunswick. I do love, I love a lot of them. They've all got their own rustic kind of feel about them, old school feel, but Doherty's Brunswick, that's why I moved close to it. And when you have a goal, when you have a dream, that's something I did. Whenever I come to Melbourne, I move closest to the gym. When I was sponsored by other places, I moved close there. And you know, when I always went where I could grow the most, and that's what I think is important out there. And I live by example. Bodybuilding to me at the moment, in this point in life, it's one of the most important things, not the most important thing, but one of. So I have to make sure it works, and that's something that I say to you. I'm going to jump over here for these side raises in the machine, in the cable. Yeah. All right. So you can do this a couple ways, from the front or from behind. I like to do them from behind. I find it's able to recruit through my side delt more without bringing my front delt into it. So when you think about the anatomy of your deltoids, they're put into three parts: front, middle, and rear. But there's more like, when you actually look in depth of them, there's more like 7 parts of it. So it's not just one front delt. There's a couple different fibers in that front delt, a couple different fibers in that middle delt, and a couple different in the rear delt. So you're wanting to make sure you're targeting all that to get a properly capped shoulder and deltoid. You want to do a combination of things over your many years of training to develop those areas. So I get a little bit of a lean and angle, so that stays consistent the whole way through my workout. Eight reps, that's my goal. So even my building sets are 8 reps. My last set is still aiming for 8 reps. The last one you saw, I got 10, 8 on my own, 2 cheat reps, or it would be like 2 assisted if you have a trainer there. You shouldn't ever try and do, this is the hard thing with bodybuilding. People will get a spotter and they'll have the spotter there and they'll say, I did like 10 reps at 25 kilo side raises, but their training partner is assisting them with every one of those reps. Now that's an inconsistent measuring system, because then when you don't have your training partner there, you're like, last time I got 25 at 10, I'll do that again now. You can't even get 1 rep up on your own, you're disheartened, you don't think the system's working, then you'll start with a different exercise or change up your whole plan. This is why you have to be able to measure your results, because it keeps you motivated, if I can use that word. It's committed to the plan of action, having it being measured, so you're able to then know exactly how you're building up in your sets, doing your overload set, moving on, keeping those exercises. After those 8 weeks, you should see that area of your body has developed somewhat. It's very hard if you're carrying a lot of body fat, because you're not going to see the development. But just know that you have to trust the process. If you're in an off season, you're a little bit muddy, that's fine. Just trust the process and know that if you're doing everything in the right way, in the right order, you got your meals right, you're sleeping right, your training system's working, you're not cheating the reps up, you've got good movement patterns, you're getting treated every week, like whether remedial or a myo or physio, chiro, osteo. Make sure you get your body looked after. That's the important thing.
Travis in the chat wants to know who or what motivates you in the gym?
Travis, who or what motivates me in the gym? I'm extremely self-motivated with that. So I've got my goals, and that's a negative. I've said, tell people this story. When I did my first Arnold Classic, I did the guest pose 2 weeks before it. I got photos straight away and I was happy, and then I went on like an eating binge. Stupid me, because I was happy my goal was achieved, but really the goal I had to remember was competing against other people. It wasn't, and that's a hard thing with bodybuilding. You're trying to do what's right as a competition against yourself, which is a very healthy mindset to have, to then having a competition against other people, which is out of your control. So you always say control your controllables, so control what's in your control. What's not in your control is how other people perform, what they do. So that's a negative thing with me with my bodybuilding, and it's a funny story. I went through Macca's drive-through, got 2 Sundays, ate them before I was out of the drive-through, went around again. They're like, you again? I said, yeah, they're for my wife. They weren't for my wife. 2 more Sundays, went back around again. 2 more? I said, yeah, for the kids. I don't have any kids. 2 more Sundays, 6 Sundays in one go. That's crazy, crazy. So that's what happens when you go too focused one way, you just go bounce back the other way. So if you're looking at health-wise and a healthy mindset, you wouldn't be as obsessive as bodybuilding. So there is those highs and lows. Try and balance them out with some good time and some good downtime after the shows. But know that the harder you go one way, your body just fights for it back. So unless you're exceptional and you've got this really strong mindset, I've never met anyone like that though. That's a little part of my craziness. We've all got a little bit of crazy, I think. I hope we've all got a little bit of crazy. It's not just me. All right. Okay. If you can't hear, let us know how the quality is in the forum. Let us know how the quality is, the sound is. I want to get this right for you guys, so it's something that we can keep up and you guys can learn consistently how things work.
Someone in the chat asked, how do you process negative opinions from people both below you, keyboard warriors, to people you genuinely respect? If anyone has ever given you
Yep.
an
This is a long question. I can answer it, or I can answer it in a short way. I gave this at my seminar yesterday. It's a speech called The Man in the Arena, and it talks about vulnerability and critics and you having courage. And it basically says it's not the critic who counts, It's not the one who points out where the strongman stumbles or how the doer of deeds could have done it better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred with blood and sweat and dust, who at best knows a triumph of high achievement, and who at worst, if he fails, he does so daring greatly. So that's very, very important. So the critics are the ones who aren't daring greatly, so they're able to criticize and put you down to try and bring you to their level. But the man in the arena is the one who actually has the glory, who stands in front of the massive crowds, holds a trophy up. This is in the sport of bodybuilding. The critics, cool, I don't disrespect anyone's opinion, but don't get on there and bag me out. And if you do, I'll make you feel like an idiot. People go, why do you comment back to them? I get a laugh out of that. We laugh at it because before you know it, they're understanding that they shouldn't be commenting. You try and find a consistent in their life. They don't have it. They're just bagging you out because they're just venting. They're upset with their own walk of life. And sometimes I have a laugh with it, and sometimes I just let it go. And I just feel sorry for them, really. And that's how you should feel with other people bagging out your way of life. Because your way of life is no one's opinion. Your way of life is what brings you joy. Why should you listen to someone else's music? If you don't like that music and you like your own music, why would you let someone else tell you what you should and shouldn't like? It's not about, you can't help what you like. It's how life is. That was a long answer. Yep.
Or touching your clavicle on a shoulder press.
Yep. Okay, so full range of motion, in my view, is full development. Unless it causes you pain to go into that full range of motion, then you don't do it. In saying that, if your building sets are really light and you can't go into that full range of motion, don't do it on the heavy lift. But if you're going to full range of motion in your building sets and your heavy lift you can't go to that, it means the weight is just too heavy. That's a good way an easy way to put it. But don't pause. So if you're doing a bench press, don't pause. I mean, that's powerlifting, that's fine, but in bodybuilding, constant moving tension is what's going to build hypertrophy. So I don't want to pause in the movement and all of a sudden, instead of the tension going through the muscles into the joints. And generally, if you pause, you will need some kind of shear force or jolting to elevate that weight back up, which is dangerous as well for the body. So jolting in the movement, recruiting, having a massive burst of recruitment when the body isn't developed for that, you haven't trained for that. This is the best method I've found. It's the least chance of injury. And yeah, so partial movements, they have their place a little bit, but for the most part, like I said, it's full range of motion, full development as best you can. For me, I can't go any deeper. I was when I was smaller, I could go all the way down. Now when I'm doing a barbell press, I can't actually go deeper than my chin. Even that's a bit challenging because you have to remember in a barbell press, your elbow should be directly supported by your wrist should be supported by your elbow, and then your shoulder will be in line with your elbow. What will happen is if you can't go down as deep and then your elbow starts to go back to get that extra range, the force is coming down here, that's not going to here, that's putting pressure on here. That's what causes injuries. You want to always keep it protected and keep your elbow directly underneath your wrist and develop that anterior deltoid through that motion. You don't want to put your body under that much pressure. I think if you can go into that range of motion, it's like a behind the head lat pull down. If you can go into that range of motion, you've developed your body that way, great. Try not to take it up later in life if you've never done that before. It's like gymnastics or gridiron or rugby. I don't take that shit up now because I'm going to get injured. So if I was developed with that when I was younger, awesome, because my body's adjusted to it. There's certain, my bone has a certain density to it. Even my tendons have a certain density to it. So even the muscle tendons have different fibers in them. Some are really strong, some are weaker. So I've even been told this, when you get injured, it's actually better not to rest. You're actually better to go into activity straight away because it'll develop those stronger fibers for your tendons. So let's do a set. Okay, so that's getting pretty close to my overload set there.
Someone's asking, what's the big stage of training with your heaviest lift first rather than pyramiding up?
I think that's a great way to get injured. If you mean heaviest lift first, heaviest, if it's different, if it's heaviest exercise first, then yeah, if it's something like a deadlift or a squat, something that's a high compound movement, it's always better to do those exercises before an isolation movement. But I wouldn't get in there and do a squat and just load up 300 kilos on the bar and just squat straight down with it. I think that's idiotic. You'd have to build up. Even powerlifters backstage, they do their building sets. So you'll see them walk out in front of you and do a massive lift, but it's not in, but in training, they're actually, before their main lift, they're actually backstage doing their building sets. So I think, was that the right question, or did he think the other way around? Okay, yeah, so don't get in there and just do one big lift first. Important lesson and factor that's got me to where I am in bodybuilding and or life? It's a very tricky question. That's a good question. Most important lesson in life, I think, is do your own thing. Don't let anyone tell you what you should and shouldn't do. Don't be predetermined by what your parents want for you or your friends around you want for you. Know what you want, understand what you want, and then dedicate everything in your being to get that and achieve that. I mean, I'm very lucky because I'm doing something that I love. As hard as this is, I'm doing something that I love. But I see a lot of people out there who are going to work, who are just working for a pension, not for a passion, who just are having to go through the motions and they don't really even want to go to their job. And it is sad because we've only got one life. The grave's coming. You know, everyone's going to die one day. For some reason, people think that they're not going to die and they've got the next 50 years of their life to just plan and do things. It's not like that, man. Like, life can end suddenly, and I've had a bit of death in my life with family, friends, and then maybe that's something that woke me up to that early as well. But that's a life lesson, is doing something that I want and not letting anyone tell me what I should and shouldn't do. I mean, who are they to judge me and who am I to judge them? And that's how you should feel about your own life. I'm not telling you to do what I do, but I'm telling that you find out what works for your life. Find out what brings you a lot of joy. And if you don't know what that is, do reverse goal setting. Figure out what you don't like to do and cut those things out. Do you want to work in an office or outside? Yes, no, figure out what one that is. Do you want to work with people or not with people? So the theory of elimination, you'll be able to figure out an area that you sort of want to work in, and you just got to jump into that and try it out and take risks. It's all going to be out of your comfort zone, and always have courage over comfort, because everything's going to be awkward and uneasy and challenging to start with. But if it's something that you love, you'll grow quickly with it and you'll enjoy your life. Let's do my last overload set. Sorry about the noises. A little bit of cheat reps the last couple as well. So that was like 6 quality and 2 a bit loose. So that's fine. So next one I'm gonna do now is my side delts smash, because that's the area I wanted to work on. I noticed that when I won my pro shows 2015, my side delts were really round, and I was doing a lot of side raises at the time and rear raises. But I love my dumbbell presses. I love my barbell presses. And then I went into 2016, I'm like, I'm just gonna go crazy with them. I got my lifts right back up. And the negative to that is when I got my photos from, say, the Arnold Classic or the Olympia, it was great here, but because my front delts were so dominant, my biceps would look smaller. Because my front delts were so dominant, my side delts would look smaller. From my rear double biceps, they will overpower my back. And that's like bodybuilding, is making your body symmetrical. It's like a work of art. You're trying to develop things. It just takes a lot longer than what an artist would do. So for me, that's why I stopped that. And the thing out there that I'm getting across to you guys as well is you may have an emotional connection to an exercise because you develop great in it. You may have an emotional connection to a training system because you got great results of that in the beginning. But the negative to that is, in the beginning, anything really works. Because through the theory of and the belief of progressive overload, progressing from nothing to something is always a progression, so you're going to get development from it. But when you want to progress your body this way to the best of your ability and get the most results with the least amount of injuries in the quickest way of time, this is the system that works. So as annoying as it is, I had an emotional attachment to power movements, and maybe it's an ego thing there that you're getting these massive weights up and it's cool, but it wasn't what was beneficial to my career.
Someone in the chat was asking earlier what your 1 rep maxes were for squat, bench and deadlift.
I don't do 1 rep maxes for that reason. I'm a bodybuilder, I love powerlifting, I love strongman stuff. But the thing is, for that, if I go for a 1 rep max and I injure myself, I'll regret that for the rest of my life, because my goal is to be the best bodybuilder I can possibly be, and I'm hoping to do that and win the world titles, win the Mr. Olympia for multiple years, and then I'll go into some powerlifting or strongman stuff. I'd love to do that for something different, but someone always told me you should try and maximize what your main passion is first before moving on to something else, and whether that's by your choice or by something going wrong, like people who have gone in an industry and then they've maximized their potential, and then unfortunately they didn't reach their goal and they've have to retire without it. They've had to find other things to put their energy into that gives them purpose and meaning and drive in their life. So I'm hoping that I can do this as best as I can for as long as I can, and then move on. So in this one, we're going to start with some rear raises. So this is a seated rear raise. Just get out of my fort here. All right. So this is almost between, like I said, how there's many fibers in the side and the rear of the shoulder. This is sort of one that hits your posterior delt as well as your side delt. You have to be very careful how you do this, because it can come into your front deltoid. So it's like a front raise is like that. So it's important to not come up too much straight forwards. You actually have to come out. Like I showed you with the side raise before, coming out and rolling your wrist out like you're pouring water. You want the point of reference and the point of contact and the emphasis to always come through the elbow with the side raise. You don't want it to be through the wrist, you want it to be through the elbow. That's how you're going to develop your shoulders. So you're wanting it to come through your elbow without coming into your front, the anterior shoulder too much. So from here, you're wanting to pull up that way. And if you're not feeling it in the right area, your body is your best biofeedback mechanism. If you're not feeling it in the right area, it means you're not doing the exercise correctly. That can be one part of it, or another part of it. For all your beginners out there, if you haven't been training for very long, the connection with your body isn't going to be as great. So proprioception is a connection you have with your body and your body's position in relationship to other things in the room, like that, my hand, if I'm holding a dumbbell, how connected I am to that. Even as far as if you're in a car and you're reversing your car, if you've had your car for so many years, you have this connection with your car and you have this increased proprioception on how far things are away from each other. When you're new to bodybuilding, you haven't developed that connection as well yet. So that's what I mean. You might need more building sets so you can target that. You might need to do lighter weights so you can target that. But when you've got that connection, you'll feel it straight away. Like when I did train people in the past and they were doing exercises, like I don't feel this one, and I dropped the weight right down and then I got them to do the exercises slowly and with the right technique. As soon as they stop the exercise, they're like, wow, I can't believe I've been missing that the whole time. And rear delts is an area that really gets missed out on.
Someone in the chat was asking, do you train traps on their own, or do you feel doing shoulders activates it enough?
Yeah, I do traps directly after my shoulder workout. So I'm doing them today after these ones. Depends what level you're at as well with that question. If you're a beginner, you're doing shoulders, and like even this is going to recruit some of your traps. You might only need to do one shrugging movement afterwards and you're going to get great response. Someone who's more advanced, you have to think of it like a progression. Someone who's more advanced will need to do more exercises. For the one muscle group, that's the thing. More sets, building sets, more exercises for the workout. And that's a negative to being a pro at such this level. With bodybuilding, it takes longer to do my workouts. I'm in here for sometimes 2 hours or 3 hours to just get to my workout in. Camera guys are like, oh shit, 3 hours. All right. Yes.
Shoulder mobility tips on movements. Someone saying that they struggle with shoulders because of tight pec minor.
Yep, okay. So that's something that with mobility, you can do a lot of static stretching, yoga, deep tissue massage, things that are going to increase that range of motion. It's a lot to do with warming the muscle up, but it's even more to do with having a muscle that's lengthened. If it's always short, and you get those people in the human bench press suit, they've got short bands, they've got short muscle fibers through here, everything's pulled forward. Sometimes people are on the computer all day long or they're driving all the time, so their body just naturally rolls forward. So you're going to need to increase your range of motion. Before you guys didn't see, I was doing mobility stuff. I was rotating my shoulders around, just getting my range of motion, activating it, increasing that mobility in that joint. But if you've got an issue there that's underlying, it can be a few different things. One is that there's either an injury there, or it's just really short and you need to do a lot of stretching. Then, like I said earlier, if you're doing a lot of stretching, it can interfere with your progressive overload, so you need to start back at a low level again. That's why I like the 12 reps, 15 reps, because it's such a higher rep range. The chance of injury is much lower because the weights are much lighter. As long as you're connected with your body, it's not going to be an issue. These ones I find quite hard, so I don't go very heavy on this. And these are kind of the exercises that you will go higher in reps before you go higher in weight. So if I'm doing 8 reps on this today, I'll try and get to 10 or 12 reps out, or 10 or 11 reps out on the weight before I make an increment up. Okay, so that's close to my overload set. I believe I can get 17.5 if I rest long enough. And that's the boring part of this, of the bodybuilding thing, because you want to go at it, you want to have a good workout, but the negative is you have to wait a lot of times because you want to get your energy system fully recovered so then you can hit that overload set. And I'm not going to do that if I'm breathing heavily, if I'm pre-exhausted from my previous set. I need to make sure I'm fully recovered, and then I'll be able to get that target and hit 6 reps or 8 reps on this heavier weight.
Aaron on the chat saying if you are training for 3 hours, would you stop for a meal or a shake or anything?
No, it would. It's more, 3 hours is a bit of an exaggeration. It's probably more like 2 hours would be my max. Saying that on leg day, sometimes it's 3 hours. But with a leg day as well, I mean, I'll walk, do a little warm up, do my stretches, my mobility work, and that's already 30 minutes worth on my leg day. It's a big warm up to prevent injuries. And so then by that time, my food's already digested. It's probably an hour or longer since I had my meal. Then I train for 2 or 3 hours, and I'll eat when my body's recovered, because like I said before, your sympathetic nervous system shuts off digestion. A lot of people have these food issues and intolerances because they're eating things directly before their workout or directly after their workout. And all of a sudden, a year or 2 years go by, and they're like, man, I can't eat eggs anymore, I can't eat chicken anymore, I used to love this stuff, I used to be able to eat it. It's because your body has this reaction because you're always trying to process it when your digestive system's actually shut off and closed down to keep you to survive. It's a system that people say that we developed to run away from lions and tigers and cheetahs and ugly people. And it's a survival mechanism to help us when we're in a state of fear, that fight or flight system. So there's no need for the body to build muscle, there's no need for the body to reproduce, there's no need for the body to digest food if there's never going to be a tomorrow. Your body just needs to put everything into surviving, like when you do a heavy lift, like a squat or a bench or something that's almost life-threatening, because if you don't control the heavy weight, it can crush you or kill you. So everything's recruited and all these other senses are just heightened. So that's the important thing. I wouldn't train for, I'd always wait and then I'll eat. In the past, this is something you always learn. In the past, I used to eat before. I used to have a shake during my workout, protein powder, glucose powder, through my workout. And then I noticed that when I stopped doing that, my lifts actually increased as well, and my recovery increased, and my digestion increased. So, all right. That's it. All right. All right. Next movement we're going to do is called a rear raise row. This is something a lot of people don't know, this exercise. This has been my go-to exercise for developing mass in my rear delts. It's an exercise where I can lift more overall weight, and more overall weight, which means I'm going to be able to tear more muscle tissue down and develop more muscle out of it. It's a compound movement. So I've gone from my side raises to something that's sort of like a side and rear movement, now into a predominantly rear movement. So your posterior delt, your rear of your shoulder, is made to do this kind of movement. And what we're going to do here is we're going to go from that movement into a rowing movement. So as you can see, my rear shoulders are getting activated that way, and they're still getting activated on that last little bit. So although I'm changing my positioning and I'm putting emphasis from what started as a raise, a single joint movement being my shoulder, into a multi-joint movement being my shoulder and my elbow, I've activated that rear delt first, and it's overloaded even more towards the end of the exercise. Okay, so from here. Try never to let your wrist go in front of your shoulder. You don't want to take the tension off that rear deltoid.
When did you learn this movement?
This one I actually learned from Warren Clampett, who learned from, I don't know who it was, and he was the INBA universe champion, Olympian champion in the INBA, and I lived in the country 3 hours away, and I just wanted to learn from the best, and he was the best in Australia at the time, and I come down from here, and this is one exercise I learned from him. And my analytical mind and with biomechanics, it's like, nah, that can't really work, because it will activate through your lats. A rowing movement will come through your lats and your rhomboids and all these areas, and it's like, but it works like crazy. Like, you do the movement, activating your rear delt, and then you're overloading it. It just works. It really, really works. That's the thing. I always try and learn from people who have been there. Like, I learned from books. I learned from Strength Training Anatomy by Frederick Delavia. Did courses, learned from people. But I found that learning from people who have lived the life and been there before, it's always the best way to learn. Experience always beats theory, always. So this one, I can start going up a bit more in increments. So before, when with the side raise, I was only going up by 2.5 increments. This one I can go up by 7.5, even 10 in the beginning, and as it gets heavier, you shorten that increment from 10 kilos to maybe 5 kilo increments. So I've just done 10, I've done a 15. I find that it's warm. I'll do a 22, probably a 30 as well, see how that goes.
Someone in the chat wants to know if you've ever had a DEXA scan just before competition.
Never had my skin fold, calipers. Had it once when I was shredded, and it said I was like nearly 20%. I was like, what a load of crap. And then probably the testing error. But the thing is, you have to understand is it's always, when you're just trying to look great or when you're trying to compete, no one on the street or no one that you're trying to look great for is going to pull out a tape measure or a scale. It's never like that. It's based on your proportions and your condition. You can get someone who's a heavier person and they look fantastic because their proportions are different, or you can get someone who's lighter and they look fantastic because their proportions are great for that as well. And with bodybuilding, with judging, we get judged on stage. They don't pull out a tape, they don't get a scan happening. It's all based on your proportions. And that's something that's in your control. We're able to then have adjust our shoulder to waist ratio by developing our deltoids and minimizing our waist circumference. We're able to develop our legs to match our, be more proportionate with our upper body. So these are all things that are in our control that we can do. And if you don't want to do it, fine. If you want to do it, learn about it and get better at it. I'm not saying that you need to have a great body to feel great. I'm saying that if you want to learn more about the body, that's important. But if you are comfortable in your own skin, that's even more important. That's the best part of life. Not caring about what other people think, but caring about what you want for your life and how you're going to go about it. So you see, I haven't even trained my front shoulders in this. There's still got blood flow in there and there's no need for me to do the pressing movements, unfortunately, because I love doing them. Is there any questions?
Well, you're inspiring a lot of people.
Cool.
Someone from overseas, say, 1 in the morning here, I should be in bed, but great advice for the future,
Oh, 1 in the morning over there overseas. Thanks for watching.
someone saying they're at work and you're really inspiring them to go to the gym.
Cool, that's great.
You can't wait to hit the gym later today. So much knowledge, see you at the Art Classic.
Awesome.
He wants daily videos.
Daily videos.
And people are agreeing.
Cool.
Here's the question though, what is your background academic-wise? Someone's asking.
Yeah, okay. I did diplomas. I did advanced diplomas. I was going to go to university, but I was completely bodybuilding. My mindset was bodybuilding. I didn't want to learn about anything else that wasn't bodybuilding. So I became more self-taught, learning off other people, getting books. And that was one of the things. I'd get the modules when I was doing my diplomas and I'd read the whole module. I wouldn't want to, did it all by correspondence. I didn't want to get rushed through a course. It took me, out of that schooling, it took me 4 years of heavy study by correspondence to do all that stuff. And then competing in a couple of different federations and learning from people who've done their honors in exercise physiology and GPs. And I just found I was just, anytime anyone would talk about bodybuilding, I would just soak it up. Anytime anyone talked about cars or motorbikes, I would just switch off. I just wasn't connected with it. So anything that would add value, I took it on, I learnt about it. And some things I've actually forgotten, but I keep those actions in place of what works. But the theory behind it, I'm a little bit cloudy on. My memory doesn't, I don't know, anyone whose memory, they can recall everything that they've learned in their life. So, and I'm not ashamed to say it, but when I need to know about something, I'll refresh and learn about it. Could I trouble you and get some the 30 kilo dumbbells? Is that all right? So I don't have to run in. They're just right over there. It's a little trick. All the dumbbell racks are in there at Joldy's gym, and hopefully I'll work something out and get a stronger cord, and we'll be able to do that next time. But thanks for watching, everyone. It means a lot. Hope you get starting to understand this system a little bit more. With exercises, you can do 4 exercises for the body part, or you can do 6 exercises. I find that doing 4 is a really good system. I don't get burnt out. When I get closer to a show, I start doing things like 5 or 6 exercises to increase that intensity, to increase my body burning more calories. It's just an increment. Same with, like I talked about before. Thank you, Daniel. Sorry, mate. Thanks. Cool. All right. So 30. Gonna hate me here because I'm gonna have to need heavy weights. Any question? Then I'll answer that.
Yeah, well, someone's saying those veins are crazy.
Thanks.
Well, this must be someone new to the chat. He's asking, what is that exercise called again?
Okay, yeah, this is, if I can get me 37.5s in there, is that all right? Cool, yeah, thanks mate, 37.5s. So this is called a rear raise row. So keep it simple. It's a rear movement for your posterior deltoids. You're raising first, and when you're getting to that point, you're rowing the rest of it. So you're getting that extra tension into your rear delt and you're able to go from something being in isolation, more of kind of a single joint movement, into a multi-joint movement. You're able to handle more weight. You're able to tear more muscle tissue down, and more muscle tissue that's torn down, there's more recovery, more growth out of that.
Who's the best IFBB pro you get along with, and tell us some stories about them?
Thanks, mate. Just dropping you. Who's the best I get along with? They've all got issues. Nah, it's I get along great with Cedric and Dallas at the moment. We're in a group chat. We're in a group chat at the moment. Pretty funny. Funny story about Cedric. We're in the Poland show in the Livroni Classic, and we're on stage, and it was just us two left, and getting the call out, and I said to him, okay, the winner shouts dinner, and then he's like, I don't care, I'm just hungry, and he's like, I went to Pizza Hut last night. I'm like, bullshit, you went to Pizza Hut the night before our contest? He's like, yeah, didn't believe it. And then we went to Pizza Hut that night, and the waitress comes and says, you again, same order as last night? It's like, funny. That's Cedric. Dallas, he's got some funny stories too. They're good guys. Sorry, mate, I'm gonna need one more. Gonna need 40. So always remember this as well. It's your progressive overload, although I've done more weight than that on a rear raise row. I've done up to 50 kilograms before, but I've done that first. I've done the 50 kilos first in my first exercise. So because this is 4 exercises deep, I'm always gonna be a little bit weaker in that. So I only ever base this system and my targets based on where they are in order of the exercises. So I'm not looking at the right camera. I don't know where I'm looking. Cool. Yeah, so that's something with this system that you always have to understand. Don't think, okay, I've done this King of the Gym system, or two week rep variations. I've done this system a couple times around, and my first system I was able to do 50 kilo rear raise rows, and now the third system in, I'm only able to do 40 kilos. It must be going backwards, it must be a regression. No, that's not the case. It means that you would probably change your exercises from the first exercise to be third or fourth. So you're always gonna fade through the workout with strength. That's why I always tell people, your weakest muscle groups, the weakest part of that muscle group, always put that first exercise and second exercise. You'll respond the best out of the first 2 exercises. Drop sets, supersets, all that sort of stuff, giant sets, I don't think they're bad. I just think of it this way, anything that gets in the way of your progressive overload is a negative. So if you were to do those things first, and then you go into doing your squats later, there's no way you're gonna hit your targets with your squat and be able to hit the overload. So anything that's gonna weaken your body, you wanna try and avoid that to the best of your ability and put that last. Like if you've got the ability to put that last, I'd always do that, because your body does develop a little bit through metabolic stress, capillarization, blood volume. So that's important to put that towards the end of your workout, where you can stretch the fascia, get a lot of blood flow. Getting a crazy pump isn't directly correlated to muscle growth, but it's good for recovery and stretching the fascia. But the thing is, if you get a crazy pump in the beginning of your workout and that restricts you from doing the rest of the exercises, it's going against the purpose of progressive overload, what you're wanting and what I'm wanting to achieve.
Physique-wise, what is your main focus for the Arnold? What are you looking to improve?
To the Arnold, I'm looking to improve having a better shoulder to waist ratio. So I know my waist was really tight for the Olympia. I felt like I lacked that pop. I lacked that thickness. So although I want the same or similar conditioning, I'm not mad if I lose a little bit of that conditioning but have that fullness and that pop and that roundness. I do definitely feel like my body looks better when it's fuller and rounder, so long as I'm conditioned as well. But yeah, for this Arnold, I'm looking at that, developing my shoulder like I'm doing now, my middle delts in my shoulder, so my waist looks more tight and I've got a better V taper. Yeah, that's one of the main things I'm looking at doing, and having that more roundness. And that's what you always learn. tell people there's no such thing as an unprofitable circumstance, and you're not going to learn anything by not competing if your goal is to compete. So get out there, give it a go, step out, find out, be the best you can be. And every show I've done, I've always learned something from it. And that's what I can try and implement into the next show. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. And if I lose, I lose. My ego's not that bad that if I get beaten by someone, who cares? It doesn't mean that they're better. It means that I'm learning in that process. And eventually I'll have everything nailed down and I'll be able to hit my target every single time. And I'll just be able to emulate that and be on top of my game. Right. Overload.
Bert in the chat says, I hope you set a good example and put all those dumbbells away.
I always do. Always put my weights away. Always have. I hate it when I see people not doing it.
Claire in the chat says, you're looking awesome. Speaking of waist circumference, outside of the scope of genetics, etc., what training techniques can you use to recruit and tighten the midsection of training belts, etc.?
Yep. So there's a big thing these days with corsets. Women wearing them, men wearing them when they're training. Always wearing your belt to keep your waist tight. I believe it's just if you're activating your transverse abdominis, so you've got your rectus abdominis, which is responsible for this movement. You've got your obliques, which are responsible for this movement, and your serratus. You've got your lower back, which is responsible for that movement. Then you've got your transverse abdominis, which wraps around you like a belt, and it keeps everything sucked in and tight. If you're able to go for a walk or do cardio and hold it in yourself and activate it, even better, your stomach's gonna stay tight. If you're letting it loose on the stairs or walking, your stomach's just hanging out and you're not activating it, it won't develop and tighten. You need to keep it. You need to use it or you lose it. It's quite simple. And I've been taught by even people I really look up to had said that I always should be wearing a weight belt. But for me, I don't like always wearing a weight belt because my stomach never gets activated on its own. When it goes to exercises, I don't like doing heavy weighted exercises for my abdominals, rectus abdominis, because they already get a workout with my heavy squats and deadlifts with that. I'll do a lot of higher reps. So everything that I'm trying to do here with progressive overload to develop my muscle, I don't want that to happen to this point here. I don't want to do heaps of high reps and heavy weights of 6s and 8s and have my midsection be more chunky. I do a lot of high reps, so that just keeps things activated. So high reps, I'm not a big believer that they have a huge progressive overload ability for hypertrophy and developing muscle tissue. I believe that doing the high reps keeps things tight and activated. So that's my definitely belief behind that, and it works for me a lot. All right, let's do.
So it's an amateur bodybuilder from Spain, Alejandro.
Hey, Alejandro.
Says, what do you think about training during contest week?
Yep, the last week is the only thing that changes with this progressive overload system. Reason being is because your body is really dry. You've got such a high risk of injury. You're the leanest, lowest body fat that you are, should hopefully be at that point. So the risk of injury is so much greater. Like I said earlier, there's always a risk to benefit ratio. And if you're doing a lot of high reps towards that last week, there's a lot less chance of injury by going heavy on your weights because you're higher reps, generally a lot of weight. And you're depleting all the glycogen out of your system. So leading into your show, the purpose is to try and deplete all that glycogen and then restore that glycogen. Because what the body has a negative of, it will always heighten and increase. So like water, if your body lacks a lot of sodium and you're neglecting it, and all of a sudden you introduce sodium, your body will hold on to more of that sodium, making you more watery and more puffier, which means that it's the same with bodybuilding. The glycogen levels in the body, the more and longer that you deplete them, the more that you can overload them and store more of them. I'm going to jump over here and start with a rear raise. This will be my last exercise for side delts. Rear delts, sorry. All right. So, movement, posterior delt rise. You want to keep your elbow, wrist and shoulder in one line, but you want to be able to let your rear shoulder do all the movements. You don't want your traps coming into it. You don't want your rowing into it, into your back. You want it to be raising out to the side and letting your rear of your shoulder activate. Mr. Kennedy. Cool.
What's your routine for travelling when you're working out when you're travelling? When your days are out of whack?
Yeah. When you're traveling, it's really, really important to, as soon as you land, try not to have really many carbohydrates on the plane or fats on the plane. It's mostly just protein and a lot of water. As soon as you travel, as soon as you have any sort of carbohydrates or fattening foods, your body will just hold that water. You don't want that. You want to make sure that you're holding as least amount of water as possible. So as soon as I land, as much as I can, I'm walking. If we've got to stop over into another terminal, another country, I'm always walking in between that. So I'll get and I'll do laps and I'll just try and get rid of that water as much as I can. As soon as I land, even though I'm jet lagged and tired, look at the Arnold, Ohio last year. It's crap, man. Like I landed, my luggage wasn't there. Like I always wear compression tights and I'm sweating in them and stuff. So as soon as I landed, my bag didn't arrive. So they lost it somewhere and I still had to do my cardio. So I was in my wife's tights in this hotel gym, looking a bit weird, but I needed to get it done. And as soon as you get on the treadmill, it was like 3 a.m, but it didn't matter because you don't really, at that time, you don't go by the clock, the natural time clock that you're in. I just try and stay in tune from what country I'm from. So I'll stay in Australian time as much as I can. I'll try and keep that sleep pattern. Unless I'm there for longer than a couple of weeks, then I'll try and get into their pattern. But generally I'm only there in a country for 4 or 5 days before I fly out again. So the travel's a little bit, definitely hard on the body, but preparation is the key. If you don't prepare to succeed, you prepare to fail. It's purely simple. Pack your food on the plane. Don't eat the airplane food. Even when I was eating and the airplane people come up and they're like, do you want to eat this? And I'm like, nah. They're like, smart move. What does that say about the food?
Josh in the chat room wants to know where you can buy the merch.
Good name, Josh. Great name. The website will be up, I'm told, this Thursday or this Friday, hopefully earlier. They're doing the demo run this week, and we're going to be putting these videos on through my website, joshlenartowicz.com, long ass name. If you can't remember that, go to jlkingdom.com and it'll direct you straight into that. So my initials, jlkingdom.com. If you can remember how to spell my name, joshlenartowicz.com. I even forget how to spell it sometimes, big meathead. But yeah, all my clothing will be on there and all that sort of stuff. So, cool. Need one more there. This is what I mean when you say six sets or 8 sets. This one is, I've been doing 4 sets on it and I've hit my target. So sets are completely individualized to your body, your strength level, your experience level, what exercise it is. Just don't rush through it. Just make sure you're connected. Just remember, it's not a rush. You're not rushing to get out of the gym. It's something, if you're developing muscle, take a lot of attention towards that. And yeah, don't rush. Just my biggest tip out there is take your time and don't rush. Cool.
One, can you give a shout out to my mate Rafi, and Also, what do you think about a keto diet for shredding?
Shout out Rafi, to you Rafi. Keto diet for shredding? Yeah, definitely. Your body will lose, definitely massively, it'll lose amounts of fat. A negative to that is your body, when it's depleted so much in glycogen, is the body will break down muscle tissue in a state called glyconeogenesis to use that as glycogen. The body loves glycogen. The body uses it as it's a quick burst energy system, especially with bodybuilding and high level bodybuilding. Your body uses that. And there's mixed methods and mixed beliefs out there with how things work. And this is what I'm telling you, what's worked for me and for all my clients, is that they're all there for a reason. Carbohydrates, fats and protein. Take advantage of them all, have them in good orders, manipulate your macros, get a coach that knows how to do that for you. I'll definitely be having coaching on there, more affordable coaching for more off-season type people or beginners, intermediate people, and the advanced competitors and people that want more information, more detail, one-on-one coaching every single week. There's another option for that. But in terms of that, definitely you get crazy results. Think of it this way: there was so many methods out there. There was this thing that happened many years ago, and this group of people were stuck on a boat. It was, I think, maybe nearly 8 months, and they survived on fish and some birds. Stuck on a boat. The people that couldn't stomach it died, but the people that could stomach it, they come back shredded, tanned. They didn't have much water, so all the stuff that you're meant to have in life, all the combination of nutrients they didn't have, and they come back shredded, tanned, looking very healthy. Of course, they didn't have all the nutrients that they needed, but they survived because they would eat the food. The people that refused to eat the food, they're the ones that died. So the body can survive on amazing things, and people always get turned off when they say, the coach put me on this low amount of calories. Too bad. It's not healthy when you're getting into crazy contest condition. There's a healthy phase of it that you need to be in when you're doing a competition and you want to look crazy and great. It takes an exceptional suffering, sacrifice level for you to look your best, and sometimes the calories are crazy low, the activity is way high, and it's not that healthy. But you ask any Olympic level athlete if the training that they're doing is healthy, and they'll also tell you no. So it's depending on who's setting your standards for you. Are your peers setting your standards, or is someone exceptional setting your standards to bring you up to their level? If you want to be average, have average standards. If you want to be exceptional, have exceptional standards. Very important. Right. So you can see that set, my form was getting really loose, which wasn't really a great set for me, but that's overload on that one as well. It's going to be quite hard to do the rest of my workout without our cord, so I think we're going to stop pretty much there, and I'll do traps and stuff a little bit another time. But what I'll do just for you guys is just go through the movement pattern of a couple of things so you understand. So a dumbbell shrug, here's the thing too, although it's one movement, it can be used multiple ways. So a dumbbell shrug, there's muscle fibers in all these different areas. There's a combination of muscle fibers in your traps. It's not just high, middle, and lower. There's all these different sections of fibers, and having a certain angle with your body will activate those fibers. So the purpose of this, Jay Cutler was a great advocate for it. If you want to grow muscle, change your grips, change your movement patterns. That's the important thing. If you're always stuck in one plane of movement, that area will develop. But you want like a 3D look. You want round muscles for the bodybuilders out there. For the girls, they want curves. They just don't want no one really wants a blockier look. They want a more proportioned and developed look. So many different ways to do a shrug. Straight up. From here, you can make it more of a power shrug. So as you come up, you're bending your elbows a little bit as well to get the weight up. So you're getting more weight through that. Having your hands in front, doing a shrug like that. Having a supported shrug. So you try and find normally the supported T-bar row. So your chest is supported and you're able to activate through your middle, the middle to lower traps that way. Even in a cable row, having it fixed and just shrugging the cable row, developing those inner fibers of your traps. So try and be a bit more inventive with that sort of stuff. I mean, I grew up in a small country gym. We didn't have much. We just had barbells and dumbbells, and we'd just make things work. So we'd put like our seated, just our flat bench underneath the hamstring curl, so we'd be able to do calf raises, seated calf raises on the hamstring curl. You can do so many things if you've got a creative mind, and just look into it. But the same thing with your shrugs is just developing them, time under tension, constant overload, building sets up, building from a lightweight to a heavyweight. That's how it works. Cool, any questions at all?
Alejandro again, how many years to become a pro? How many shows did you do?
Yep.
How many years did you put in training?
How many years would I put into training? Here's the thing, people, I think it was Milos Sarcev that said, if you are doing everything your right way and you've got a decent rig on you, you've got a good, already quite well-developed physique, if you're an amateur from doing your first show, it should take you 3 years to become a pro. If you're doing everything right, nutrition, training, your hormones are right, everything has to work synergistically together. You can't say that nutrition is more important than training or training is more important than nutrition. Everything works synergistically, meaning 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2, 1 + 1 = 3. Things feed off each other and heighten your ability to increase your level of success. Everything works holistically. Even your stress level at home, your relationships, you can't just shut off all those things, because after 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, you're gonna realize, man, I've just gotten rid of these friends and family or loved ones who meant so much to me, and now I've gotten rid of them for a plastic trophy. I mean, bodybuilding is a great thing, but it can't be the main thing. And Craig Harper, a good mentor of mine, always says that sort of stuff. You have a body, you're not a body. You have a brain, you're not a brain. You have a job, you're not a job. You have a relationship, you're not a relationship. You're all these things into one that makes you a great version of yourself. So till next time, I think we're going to finish up here. We're going to finish up here, guys. So thanks. Yeah. So just hit subscribe, please, to this YouTube channel. I set it up many years ago, didn't put anything into it. I've been really bad with all this sort of social stuff. I get incredibly overwhelmed, and I'm sorry. People that I haven't gotten back to over the many years of my career, this is the way I'm going to be able to reach all those people in one and answer your questions, and hopefully, I just struggle to sit on my phone and answer it. I'm getting a little bit better at it, but if I have the chance to connect with people who are my loved ones, my family, my friends, over people who are sending me messages, I'm sorry, but they take priority, as I wish that you do yourself. Lead by example, take care of the ones that take care of you. And until next time, yes, hit subscribe. My website, joshlenartowicz.com, will be up towards the end of the week. Hope many more to come. And any questions, just keep them firing below. We'll try and get them answered. Thanks very much. Hope it was informative.